Hey, good day everyone. It's your girl Tonya Lady T, and as promised, I told you I would get on here and talk about applying for a mortgage. Again, you're in the business, not necessarily business, but you're in line. You're in a mindset. You want to buy a house. You're tired of renting. You want something to call your own. And so now here it is. You're at the precipice of wanting to pull the trigger. And so anyway, I wanted to come on here and just share with y'all what I personally did to get me into this beautiful home and that I'm so grateful for. And again, we talked about on my first home series is about credit, because whether you utilize credit or not, whether you believe in credit or not, some of us and most of us, if we want a house, a car, a job, whatever, you have to have good credit in order to obtain certain things. Not all of us has $200,000 or $300,000 sitting in a bank where we can go off and buy a house or buy a car or even buy a set of tires for our car. Your appliance break down, your air conditioner break down. Most of us may not have $6,000 to $7,000 just sitting there waiting for those incidences to occur. So what do we have to do? We have to rely on credit. And we have to make sure that we have good credit in order to be a good risk to any lender that says, okay, he or she is faithful. They've been a good steward over their money, and we will take the risk on loaning them this amount for this amount of time. And so anyway, these are, again, things that I'm sharing. I'm not an expert. I'm not a guru. Again, these are some tips that I am sharing with you on what I went through and how it was a blessing to me about learning, gaining knowledge, so that I can too be part of that American dream, if you will. So applying for credit or applying for a home mortgage. Again, I just want to recap that from the credit standpoint. A lot of people asked about changing your name. Well, again, just call up each creditor for your credit card. You are the preference of what you want your name to be and look like on your cards or on your account. So if you want all of your cards to say Tonya L. Howell or Tonya Howell or your middle name spelled out, then make sure all your credit cards have the same name in the same way. Okay? And again, these are just tips that I learned and found out about. Just like you are listening to this video, I was listening to Lou Hutt one Saturday morning, and when he said that, I'm like, huh? It didn't sound right to my ears because I'm not a credit guru. I'm thinking, how can that change my credit score? But I'm telling you, I did it. It worked for me. So I'm just sharing. If you think it won't work for you, you don't understand it, you don't have to do it. But I just am a person that I like sharing when I know something worked for me. I'm not so in my head that I went to school about credit and Listen, if somebody tells me they've done something and it worked for them, what do you have to lose but just try it? You're not, if it doesn't work, you're not in any worse shape than you were before you tried it. But taking the effort and taking the initiative. And that's another thing about when you hear information. When you hear information, you know what? You can have questions about it, but take the initiative and try. You can't down something unless you try it, especially if it's something that you feel like you need to know, because your credit may be disrepair, and every little bit helps. But like I said, increase is increase, and that's a blessing. Okay, so like I said, while I'm doing these videos, please understand this is information that I have learned and that has worked for me, and I'm just sharing my experience. Okay, so that was one of the #1 questions that people asked about the changing the credit card. Just call up your creditor, tell them what name you want on the card. They will issue you a new card showing the update. Of course, you'll have the same account number and all that, and they'll mail it to you. And that way, your cards will have the same thing on it, and it will be updated within your credit profile. Okay, so again, I just wanted to do a quick little recap on that from the credit video. Okay, this is part 2, and we're talking about home mortgages and how to apply for a home mortgage. As I've stated earlier in the credit video, is I have a good friend who is in the real estate business, and she had also just purchased a home about 2 months prior to me applying for my home. And so she told me, she said, well, you know, Tonya, I didn't go to my local bank that I bank with and apply for my loan. She said, you know, I went to another bank and I applied for a loan somewhere else. I said, really? She said, well, you know what? You'd be shocked what your money can afford you, Tonya. She said, if you're really ready to buy a home, she said, don't even go to a local bank. She said, go out there to LendingTree.com and put your information out there and let the banks fight for your business. She said, matter of fact, they've got a program out there that if you don't make a certain amount of money, you can't be over this certain amount of threshold, you probably could qualify for a USDA loan. So I said, what is that? So she sort of broke it down to me, and I sort of, you know, Googled it and looked it up, and I thought, okay, let me check this out. It's, you know, it's a program where people who are applying for a home loan that are willing to live in the rural suburbia area, and you don't have stipulations that you want to live in the city and you have to live on this part of the town. If you don't have any stipulations about that, then they have specific loans to help build up the farm area community, the rural area community. They're building nice big, you know, some of these farmers, they're selling off this land. And so now it's just all this acres and acres and acres and acres of land that are now being sold off, and they're trying to develop and build up these rural areas. And so I thought, shoot, I ain't never really like living in the city, because when I was younger, I was all about living in the city because that's where all the happening stuff was going on. But now that I'm older and more mature, I'm almost 50 years old, y'all, I look for serenity, for peace. I don't have to be amongst all the hustle and bustle, but if I do, I just go there. But as far as my living and my peace, I like peace and quiet. I like to hear the birds chirping. I don't necessarily want to hear your loud music thumping and bumping, you know, you understand. And I'm a music lover, but not when I'm trying to sleep and trying to rest and trying to enjoy. Y'all understand? So that wasn't a deal breaker for me. So I was like, shoot, sign me up, babe. So I was like, okay. So she said, yeah, because a lot of banks don't do a lot of programs. Most banks, they deal with straight conventional loans, fixed and variable rates, and they keep it moving. They don't delve over into the different programs. So I said, you know what? That's a good idea. I said, but you know what? I've always been told I made too much money to qualify for so-and-so programs. And so I said, okay, because if I could save now 20 grand, I'll save it. So I won't have to mess with my retirement money, out of my 401k, and won't have to pull money, a whole bunch of money out of my savings, you know, because I'm a lady now. I done got to the point in my life like I have to have me a little something over there for a rainy day or something go to the left. Y'all understand? So I was like, okay, let me go ahead on and apply. And so what I did, I went out there just like she said, and I applied for a home loan under LendingTree.com. Well, immediately after, and of course you put all your information in there. You have to put some personal information in there, of course. And all of a sudden I got all these emails back. Because again, you putting all your information, your email contact, your phone number. My phone was blowing up. My email was going off. And it's almost like all these creditors, all these bankers and lenders, they're tied into this network. And it made me think about, you know, whenever I've been in that car accident, and I've been in several over my life, none that caused serious injury. I tell the Lord, thank you. But I can remember on the scene, there were tow trucks coming, and I hadn't even called them. I'm still waiting on the police to come. And tow trucks were coming, and hey, ma'am, I can tow your truck. Well, just like this network, you know, when there's an accident, you got, of course, police are on the scanners. You got ambulances that are on the scanners. You got lawyer offices, courthouse. They're all people that listen to these calls coming in. And some of your personal information, like your tags, whenever the cops calling in and I call in a call, they hear all of that stuff when people call in on these, on these scanners. And I'm telling you, the next day, after that car accident, I bet you I had about 20 to 25 pieces of mail from different lawyer offices wanting to please contact us about the recent car accident. We can represent you in a lawsuit. Don't settle within, you know how they do. Don't settle with the insurance company unless you've contacted the lawyer. So anyway, what I'm saying is, see how they were all in the net. And I didn't even know where all these people, these lawyers' offices, advertisement were coming from. But like I said, they're tied into that network, and that's how it is on LadyTSensations.com. You got realtors tied in. I mean, I was getting email from different realtors, email from different, sales offices. And I'm like, wow, I was like, and so anyway, so long story short, I hooked up with this mortgage finance company, mortgage banker, and they were local. They were right here in the community and city in which I reside. They knew the area very well, and they said, you know, Miss Howell, based on your information, you pre-qualify for the, I mean, it was just like instant. And I'm like, what? So once I looked at their term, and before this particular bank that I settled with, there was a couple of other ones. Like Quicken had somewhat of a good thing going on, but they didn't offer the USDA loan. But this bank that I settled with, they did. And it was like God sent. It was like the Lord said, Tonya, why you keep turning your head? Tonya, this is where I want you to go. And again, that's for me, for y'all, you who follow me. Y'all know my faith. I love the Lord. But anyway, and so I settled on this bank. And as soon as I said, well, you know what? I kind of think I want to work with y'all. Let's see what else. Tell me what else you need from me. Well, while that was happening, my phone was ringing, and it was actually the realtor that I now work with, and that found me this home. But anyway, so he was calling, and he said, well, look, I noticed that you applied for a mortgage loan. Just let you know, I'm a real estate agent. I work for this real estate agency, and I work and I live right in the community where you want to find your house. I would love to work with you. He gave me his name. He said, you can look me up on Zillow. And when I looked him up, he was the #1 rated realtor on there. He said, I just would really love to work with you. He said, yes, I'm a hustler. He said, and I said, well, yeah, I'm actually just starting to talk with the banker. And he said, yeah, she's already sent me your credentials. She's already sent me your info. That's why I called you, because me and her work tandem, hand in hand. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So both of them work together. He said, matter of fact, she has been the banker for my last 30 closings. And like I said, while he's talking to me, I'm already on the computer. I'm looking him up on Zillow. I'm checking him, and all of it. And it just felt right. I didn't feel like I was being scammed or anything like that. And so I hooked up with him. I began to tell him, because see, now, like I said, they done already work together. She done already sent, see, this is what they do. This is the business they're in. She done already sent him, that I was being pre-qualified. So he was already saying, okay, so I know I'm not going to be wasting my time. And he already knew all that. So she had already sent me, within that hour, she had sent me my pre-qualification letter letting me know, okay, Miss Howell, we can work with you. You have been pre-qualified for this amount. This pre-qualification letter is good for the next 90 days. I mean, they were on it. And so from that point to me living in this home, when I applied for that mortgage, it was just simple as you having all of your ducks in a row. On that application, when you apply for it, you list all the information, because that's just the preliminary stuff. And then, like I said, all these banks, all these different realtors, they're locked into that network. It's almost like if you ever go on a website and you're shopping or whatever, and you see a little box pop up says, let's chat, or do you want to have a chat? That's how it is with this LendingTree.com. Once they see a person, and I guess if you got real excellent credit, man, they're coming out of the woodwork at you. They're coming out of the wood. So I had a lot of banks coming at me at one time, and they, you know, some of them had good interest rates. Some of them was like, are you crazy? But the bank that I'm working with, y'all, my interest rate was under 3.5%. It was just, everything worked out beautifully. And again, when I applied, that was my thing. When we communicated first, you know, it was via email. Then she said, well, how about me and you just talk, and you can tell me what kind of loan you're looking for. And everything that we discussed on the phone, she also followed it up with an email. Again, this is the mortgage company that I work with. She followed up everything with the email. She said, okay, Ms. Howell, per our conversation, you want to be able to qualify for a loan with no money down, if all possible. That is your first priority. And so that's when she said, okay, this is what is available to you. Based on preliminary, you don't make over $120,000 a year. So you qualify for this particular program. And the only stipulation is you have to agree to live in this house for, I think it's 2 years. And as long as you're living in the house, you get a specific amount for tax credit, you know. So there was all these things. And like I said in the beginning, when I was just starting the video, I didn't have a hang up. I didn't want to live in the city anyway, you know, unless my dream home was in the city, but it was in the city. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to put down what I want to put down, because this is my house. But again, I found my dream home right here in suburbia. So I was happy about that. So anyway, so those were the only stipulations, because like I said, it may be different for this loan in each state, because like I said, for my state, the cost of living is not perhaps that high, but wherever in California, you might can qualify for this and could make more than the stipulation here in North Carolina, because different places, the cost of living is different. So all I'm saying is that, you know, it's important that you work with someone locally that is fighting for your mortgage. And it don't necessarily have to be the bank that you bank with, unless you just choose to have all your stuff, you know, with one bank. That's wonderful. Because some banks will tell you, look, we don't do all those programs. We do regular loans, and you have to, your credit has to be, score has to be this. You can't, you know, have all this debt. And, you know, they're just strict. They're just much more stricter. But for the most part, most banks follow the same criteria. They're going to check all your financials. They're going to check your and verify your employment. They want to see your tax returns. They want to see a lot of information in order for them to approve your loan. They do a lot of research behind the scenes. That's why it takes time to close. So anyway, the mortgage, applying for the mortgage process is as simple as that. Is you, of course, we talked about credit. Your credit has to be in good shape. Let's just face it, people. And we talked about some of the things that I did and some of the things that perhaps you can do to repair your credit, knowing credit utilization. And that's the other thing with applying for a bank loan, for a mortgage, for your mortgage, is that if you could have excellent credit. Let's say you had good credit, but if your debt to net ratio is too high, they're not going to loan you any money, because it would be a conflict of interest and it would be irresponsible. And that is one of the things that some of the laws that were put in place, is that lenders cannot be irresponsible with giving people loans knowing they can't afford them because their debt is too high. It ain't so much sometimes about the money you make, it's what you're doing with the money you make. And I hope that made sense. But anyway, so when you're applying for a mortgage, be careful. Somebody asked a question in my credit video and said, you know, suppose I'm behind or I'm in arrears in child support. Does that have a negative effect on your credit? Yes, sir. And yes, ma'am, it does. Because what happens is when you're in arrears or you're real behind on your child support, that municipality, that court, they report that directly to your credit bureaus, to all the credit bureaus. And it's a very negative effect on your credit. You could be doing good everywhere else. You pay all your creditors on time, but baby, if you got back child support, any type of government student loans or anything like that, and they're in arrears, unfortunately, yes, it has a very, very negative effect on your credit. And a credit lender, mortgage, or whoever, they're not going to approve your credit because of that. Because that is, again, it's irresponsible and it's a conflict. So again, when you're applying for a mortgage, make sure that your credit is intact. When you're also applying for a mortgage, again, my credit is excellent. All three credit bureaus, my credit is almost 800 at all three credit bureaus. I'm like just about 2 and 3 points away. There's like two, I think on one, it's like 2 points away. One was 15. And then, you know, like I said, if you study FICO, because of what they use, the modules they use, sometimes across all three credit bureaus, it could be different. But anyway, nonetheless, so when you're applying for credit for a mortgage, you really have to do a financial credit checkup. If you, when you're applying for credit, these are the main things that you need. We'll get to the juice of it. The main things that you are going to need when you're applying for credit, so it's easily available. You want to make sure that you have your past 3 tax returns, the 3 past years tax return. So for me, I was applying in 2019. So I had my tax returns for 2016, 2017 and 2018. If you don't have your tax return readily available in front of you, you've lost it, you can't find it, then you can call the IRS, the federal government. And again, just Google that number, and it's you call in and it's prompts, and you can just key everything in by teleprompt. You know, it'll say if you need, again, follow the prompts, and it'll tell you how you get each one of your I think per phone call, they can do up to 5 years if I'm not mistaken. So you just, and they will send you an electronic filing of your tax return. And it'll take, sometimes they say it's between 5 and 10 business days or something like that. So you can do that. If you don't have it, you can do that. So again, have your the past 3. Some banks will only say 2. But just for precaution's sake, have your past 3 years tax return. And that was what was required for me for my USDA zero money down loan. Also, you want to have your past 3-month bank statements. Again, for me, it was May, June, and July. Matter of fact, the week of my closing, they asked me to provide them my July bank statement. My July bank statement was available the 6th of every month. So I had to wait till July 6th in order to get them. So they wanted the last 3 months of your bank statement. And that's any bank statement that you bank with. If you have a 401k or any money market account, a Roth IRA, any type of monetary asset, they needed that summary as well. So my retirement is my 401k through my job. So I had to contact my 401k company and have them, or if you have a website where you can go on and get it, that way, in which I did. So I just went on my account and I had them print down, or I printed down my most current summary, 401k summary. And they provided that to me as well. I also had to have, I provided the last 5 paycheck stubs, okay? The good thing again about me at my job, we have our employee portal, we key in our credentials, and we can go back and print down our paycheck stubs for 5 years. So I was able to go back and get my 5 past paycheck stubs. Because I'm a YouTuber and this is my second job, even though I haven't filed taxes for 2019, I had to provide them a earnings and loss statement for from year to date. So even though, again, I was estimating based on what I've already paid out, for instance, the square footage that I will write off for the usage of my business of YouTube, the P.O. box, any office supplies, the light bill, the cell bill, the internet bill, anything that I utilize for my YouTube business, I had to provide a profit and loss estimated for up until the month of July. So I had to fill that out. So again, that's for people who they're self-employed, that are YouTubers or any type of social media, any type of self-employed job that you have, and you have filed that on a tax return. You also have to provide that as well. So those things are key when you are self-employed. If you are applying for a mortgage, they're going to want to see all of that. You also will have to, I said the taxes, the pay stubs, the 401k. Again, you need to provide the summary of that. And you also have to provide, again, this is for my loan, you also have to provide them what the withdrawal requirements are. Some 401ks are different from others. Some 401ks require, they'll allow you to withdraw for hardship. They'll allow you to withdraw to pay medical bills. They'll allow you to withdraw for putting down on a home, or to just buy, to withdraw for a loan. So whatever those stipulations are, they need to have those terms and conditions as well, so that if you do buy a home, they need to know that if whatever the offer is, whatever is negotiated with the seller, if you have to pay half of the closing costs, or if you have to put down a down payment because you just could not find a home in that area in which the zero down payment qualified you for. Let's just say you just happen to see this house that was right there on the blackout area that you can't buy in to get the zero down, but you just had to have the house, so that knocked you out of the zero money down, and now you've got to put 10% down, or whatever the percentage down is. They need to know that you have that money to pull, whether it's 15 grand, 20 grand. They need to see that you've got some money that you can pull that from if we are going to go through with the sale of this house. So you have to provide that. And then the other thing that was the important thing that I had to provide is you have to provide information of your HR department. You have to sign a what they call a pay and job verification. In other words, I'm giving them permission to request my pay, and if I'm in a bonus program and all of that good stuff. They have to have a release from me, for my company to release that to them in order to satisfy the loan. So again, you provide them the information, you give them whoever your HR department contact is, whoever your payroll department is, and they are the ones who will gather the information to show that banking company that yes, she's been here since 1989. She started off in this department, she was in that department for a year, and then they provide the pay scale, and again they provide whatever bonus program you're in. So that was the only thing that separate from me that they had to do directly, because like I said, when you're filling out that application, baby, you got to make sure that information, anything you put on a mortgage loan application, you better make sure it's truthful, honey, because that can get you jacked up with taxes and everything. So you have to make sure that you're giving accurate information, because they're going to check it, baby. You can trust and believe. And if anything goes to the left when you're filing your taxes that causes an audit, you better make sure that you can back up what you're saying on that mortgage application. Because like I said, you could have quit your job that day that you applied for the mortgage. So they need to know that you indeed are a recipient of what you say that's on that paperwork. So those are the things that you have to have. And again, for my USDA loan, that is the loan that I qualified for. And I tell you what, I tell the Lord, thank you. Because like I said, I had no hang-ups and living in the rural suburbia area. I really didn't. A lot of younger people, they like to live, and some older people, they like to live in the city. They want to be able to walk out their door and walk around the corner and the Burger King is there or the convenience store is there. But like I said, where I live, I'm fine. I don't mind that I have to drive 5 or 6 miles to the grocery store. It doesn't bother me. So again, those were the terms of the USDA loan, because a lot of people, you ask, well, how in the world did you get in a house with no money down? That's how I did it. And like I said, those are the basic principles of applying for the loan, is having all of your information at your fingertips, so that when you have to provide it for the banking company or the mortgage company, you've got it. You know, make sure you've got your ID or your driver's license. Make sure you've got your birth certificate. Make sure you've got your social security number, a card or something, and stuff like that, so that if they need copies of that, you can scan it. And the awesome thing about applying for a mortgage now, which was totally different years ago, everything is through DocuSign. You can upload your information and drop it right into their portal. And the beautiful thing about when I applied for this mortgage with this company, like I said, within an hour, I was pre-qualified. And they gave me my pre-qualification letter. It was all on my loan portal. So as they were progressing through my loan, they also were updating so I could see the progress. I could see that the appraisal had been done. I could see that all the underwriting and all that stuff, all the steps that's needed for closing, I could see the progress. Anything we discussed over the phone, they followed up with the email. They were very just professional, no hiccups. They gave me absolute, you know, carte blanche of just being, you know, totally into the loan and keeping me abreast of all the information that I needed. It was a beautiful process. It was stressless. It was no stress. And again, the whole time that I'm going through the mortgage process with them, they're keeping me abreast of what's going on and what's going to be happening next. And if they needed any type of other information that all I needed to do was scan it, upload it, and drop it into their portal, and they confirmed we are in receipt of whatever the document is. And then there was a lot of documents that I had to sign along the way as well, giving them permission to request this record, this and that. But like I said, again, initially applying for the loan, it was as simple as me going to LadyTSensations.com, putting my information out there, and I just sat back, and within minutes, banks were coming at me wanting my business. And I just happened to be focused, and God connected me. I really truly believe that. But again, we all have our own intuition and our gut. And what we have to do is just say, you know what, let me tap into that. And and again, you don't have to lock into anything. You can call when these banks call you, talk with them. Let them know what they can offer, and be honest and say, hey, I've got 2 of this, and you just have to be firm. Okay. And so just be firm with them and just let them know that, hey, I'm going to go with this bank, and I appreciate it. If something falls through, I'll give you a call back, because they're going to continue to call. There were a couple of banks that kept calling me while I was already well into the process with this bank that I settled with. But again, do your research. If you have a question about any bank that solicits your business after you, if any of you decide to do LendingTree.com, this video is not sponsored. Again, I'm just sharing what I have learned along the way. And let me tell you, it was so smooth, because like I said, once I settled, and like I said, I talked to Quicken, and I talked to this other bank. What was the name of the other bank that I talked to? They were okay, but their representative for the bank was not, he didn't seem like he was very well learned. And I thought, no, I'm finna make a life decision. Not trying to be ugly. He was too unsure. He couldn't answer certain questions. And so again, the questions I was asking was applicable to me and my income. So I can't sit up here verbatim and say, okay, well, what kind of questions did you have? Again, when you're talking about personal finances, weight loss, your personal life. Those things are personal. So I don't want to get on here and give y'all my whole business, but I can just say that whoever you decide to go with, when you're discussing your financials, it's a personal thing. And so whatever you're discussing with them and the questions that may arise, it's the same way with me. Anything that I had a question on about my financials, about, you know, what payments I'm willing to be comfortable with, the banker would say, okay, well, if you are looking at this type of a payment, then this is, even though you qualify for this amount, but if you want to be comfortable and be okay with this type of payment, then this is the range you want to stay in. And again, those are the personal things that you discuss with your banker. But again, like I said, when you apply for this mortgage, make sure that you're online. Go to the BBB, which is the Better Business Bureau, and see if there's any strikes against those companies that are soliciting your business. And if they aren't, again, talk to that loan officer and see what he or she can offer you, and just shop around. But I thank goodness I only had to shop around 1 or 2 times, and it linked up just as quickly and on that same day. Because I had a made up mind. I talked to 2 banks, but this 3rd bank that I talked with was the key. And it went just as smooth up until the day I closed. I applied for a mortgage loan on June the 5th. I looked for a house diligently. I'm talking about sleepless nights online, working with my realtor. He was sending me houses left and right, blah, blah, blah. I went to see a couple, and this happened maybe within a week's time. And when I put an offer on that house, the offer was accepted within an hour. And from June the 14th, I believe it was, to June 16th, I was closing my house on July 17th. So from June 14th to, which is when my offer was accepted, I believe, till July 16th, I was closing, and it was handed the keys to this house that I'm living in right now. So again, it's important that you do your homework, find out what you're willing to pay down, because like I said, there's different programs out there. If you want to buy a house with no restrictions, then you go the route that you feel that works for you. But I was a person, I was looking for no money down, and I'll be daggone if they didn't have one that I fit in the program that worked perfectly for me. And I love it. And I tell God, thank you. And it'll happen for you. But again, you have to do your homework. Everything is not going to just fall in your lap. You have to do some reading, have to do a little bit of researching. And you also got to do a little bit of talking. Look, just like they're trying to get your business, let them know exactly what you're looking for. And if they can meet you where you are, wonderful. If not, just keep it moving and be okay to say, you know what, I don't think this is going to work for me. Thank you for your time. If something else comes into fruition or falls through, then I'll give you a call back. But I think I'm going to move on. And you just be stern about it. You don't have to be rude, tactful, and be stern about it and keep it moving. Absolutely. But again, I hope this information has been helpful to you. Like I said, this is what worked for me, and this is the avenue that I went, and I wanted to share with you. The main thing with applying for a mortgage is having all of your information right there in front of you. Your tax returns, past 3 years. Your paycheck stubs, 5 paycheck stubs back. You want to have your 401k or any type of financial or monetary assets that you have. Make sure you have that updated summary, current summary, and also any withdrawal terms from so that the bank knows the procedures on getting a hold of that money. And then you also need to make sure that you have your payment verification and your bank statements. Okay, so those are the main things that you're going to have. And again, your other stuff be like, make sure you have your social, your driver's license. Some instances, some banks may want to see your birth certificate, and then of course, your like I said, your ID or driver's license or something like that to that effect. And so that way you've got all your credentials. If you're a YouTuber or self-employed, and your employment tax, all that information, your profit and loss to year to current date, make sure you have all of that, because they're going to want to see that as well. And then of course the payment, signing the release to release your payment verification. And that means if you've got 2 or 3 top jobs, you're going to have a release signed for all 3, so that lender can get access to your income. And again, when applying for mortgage, make sure that everything that you put on those mortgage records are accurate to the best of your ability. And like I said, when you're applying for a mortgage, all that information that you are sending to that mortgage company, they are also sending back a page through DocuSign, which is the portal I went through. You are signing, saying that, okay, you give us permission to use your personal information in order to obtain this loan. Everything you've sent to them, they send it back to you where you have to sign off on it. That's the process. So like I said, you're giving and they're sending it back so you can sign. Everything is very professional on the up and up. And like I said, you know, that was the important thing to me. And also, I let my mortgage banker knows that, you know, hey, I'm very professional. I like to see the whole picture. I don't need any surprises. Give it to me straight with no chaser. And I told my realtor that same thing. And we'll talk about that next on the next video. But when you're dealing with these professionals, this is what they do. If they're professional, they understand. Listen, I don't need no surprises. Give everything to me in a whole package. I rip the Band-Aid off once, if you will. And also just let them know too that, you know, hey, I'm looking, you know, you giving me my range or my, you know, what I qualify for and what the highest point of it is. But based on my payment, what I'm comfortable with paying, give it to me straight. Where do I need to stay? I know you're saying I can get this amount, but this is where I'm comfortable with my mortgage. And again, be upfront when you're applying for these mortgages, where you're comfortable with that. And what I loved about my mortgage banker is that every house that I looked at that I saw, I went ahead on and had her work up what the payment would be if I had to pay full ask. And that's what most mortgages will do. They work up your payment based on full ask, because in the event that you have to pay full ask for that house, you'll know what your payment would be. So that's how they work up your mortgage. And like I said, with this mortgage break, I sent her, she gave me her text number and everything. She said, I don't care when you text me, let me know if you see a house, give me the price on it and the MLS number on it, and I can work it and let you know what your payment's gonna be. I mean, this mortgage banker was awesome. And like I said, for me, I wanted someone local, even though I put it out there for people to bid on my business. Thank God that I had a mortgage broker right here, mortgage lender rather, right here in the community in which I reside, that I could do business with. And the other surprising thing was I learned later on that my loan officer, she actually went to the same high school that I went to. She's just younger than but we went to the same alma mater. And I thought, oh, that is so neat. So now we're friends on Facebook and everything. So that was just really awesome. But anyway, y'all, just like I said, I don't want to belabor the point. I've been jaw-jacking long enough, because y'all know I like to talk. Because it's good to get that type of information out. You know, for me, I wanted something that people knew this area, they knew what I was wanting, they know the landscaping, they know the area, they know they have access to, you know, the land and if it floods and all, so they can give a really good opinion of what I need to have and what it just all worked out. And so that's why I said when you're looking for a home, you can be excited about what's happening for me, but it's best to see what's going on in your community. It's see wherever you live at, find and scope out those realtors and or banks that are familiar with the community in which you want to reside, because they can give you the scoop. They can give you, you know, is this a good place? Does it flood over here? You know, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I just want to, again, thank y'all so much for being so just thoughtful in your comments and your interest and sharing in my blessing. And that's what we're here to do. I'm just sharing information. Again, not an expert. I just want to share what I did that made this process just beautiful. Again, and of course, God's supernatural on the natural things we have to do in order to obtain certain things. So anyway, next time the video is going to be on selecting a realtor and working with a realtor. Because like I said, hey, we got the paper, y'all. We pre-qualified. Hey, now it's time to find a house. So anyway, y'all stay tuned for the next video. If you have any questions, comments, or if y'all want to share y'all experience, put it down there in the party section, as I say, and we can share, learn, and grow together, and we can get into our houses. Amen. So I love y'all so much. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.